Good morning, good evening, and keep it tight. Welcome to Liquidmatrix Security Digest Hacker Radio Podcast, episode 0x76. We are back. This is amazing. 2 episodes in as many months, and wow, this is kind of shocking, actually. Here tonight are myself, Dave Lewis. We have Ben Shapiro, James Arlen on the wheels of steel. I should point out that the show does not represent the thoughts, intentions, plans, or strategies for world domination of our employers, ex-girlfriends, wives, belly button lint, or the militant wing of the Girl Guides. Still waiting for that letter. It is solely our personal opinions. We make no guarantees to the accuracy, validity, sobriety, relevance, or importance of anything we say or do here. My portion of this podcast has been brought to you by Bourbon and Bad Choices, as always. Gents, welcome back.
Howdy.
How are you now?
Hi, Dave.
Well, I'm not in as a fantastic as locale as Jamie's virtual background would suggest.
Yes, virtual.
Not virtual. It's a forest. Watch. The camera moves and so does the background.
Wild. Wait, how do you get the cable all the way into the forest?
Yeah, that must be a really long Ethernet cable.
Really, really long Ethernet cable.
You see the coil in the back of your truck.
We have internet service like everywhere now. Come on. There's no excuses, damn
it. So then why can't airlines figure it out?
Dave, you insist on flying on air contempt, where they're angry at you for showing up for your flight in both official languages.
Oddly enough, that Wi-Fi actually works. I was on another airline that is will remain nameless. That is actually an excellent airline, fantastic. No Wi-Fi as you cross the Pacific, but Air Canada had Wi-Fi as I crossed the Pacific.
Well, I'm going across the Atlantic soon, and I noticed on my tickets that it had Wi-Fi, and I'm like, that is so cool. Will I have to take out a mortgage for connectivity throughout the flight?
Well, like in the case of Air Canada, they have a basic Wi-Fi now for free.
Oh,
yeah.
Just if you want to get to Facebook and upload your personal details.
Yeah, exactly. Or TikTok and let the Chinese government have full access to your device. These are the things that people worry about.
Okay, good stuff.
Don't worry about, which is.
If only internet providers.
We're missing somebody today. Oh, but now we're starting to talk about a thing. Is that our segue into?
I was trying to segue, and you didn't want to go.
I just the segue again. You want to do it again?
Let's go back. So internet sucks, airplanes, blah blah blah. It turns out it's really difficult to be a major internet service provider these days because networking is hard. Ben.
Funny that you mentioned that, Jamie. Just a few weeks ago, there I was, sitting in my neighbor's front yard, using their Bell Wi-Fi. So, if you're from the US or elsewhere, but not in Canada, a couple of weeks ago, one of the major cellular and internet service providers and telco in general had a full-on outage. And given that many people are still working from home, that kind of produced an interesting day. I started my morning going, cell phone's down, internet's down, I wonder what's up. Driving around, listening to the radio, felt really old school, trying to find a Wi-Fi hotspot that would work. Pitched up in front of the local art store that has Wi-Fi, bless them. Sitting in my car, figuring out what's going on. Lady next to me doing the same thing. She looks over, holds up her phone, nods and smiles, and we keep on going. Anyways, so they're down. This is Rogers. Unfortunate, and I think a lot of people got some stuff to say about it, but they're down for, what? I'm going to say they weren't really back up until the following day, and even then it sort of dragged on quite a bit.
Yeah, they were hard down for 24 hours for sure.
Oh, yeah, and some of the service recovery, I think you would hear from people out in the broader area, not like metro areas of the country. They were down for a couple of days or had intermittent service. Anyway, a lot of ink's being spilled on that. But what I found really interesting is last week, out comes a letter from Rogers' CEO to the government. So the CRTC, which is basically the Canadian Regulatory Agency for Telecommunications, and what's the American equivalent of that?
FTC.
FTC. There, no, is it FTC?
FCC.
FCC. There you go.
Oh, sorry. FCC. Frank, Charlie. Foxtrot, Charlie.
Dave, if you want to pursue a career in communications equipment, just anyways.
Dude, it's late on a Saturday, and I cannot attest to my state of mind at this point.
Fair enough. All right, so out comes this letter from the CEO of Rogers at the request of the CRTC, the Federal Canadian Regulator for Telecommunications, to explain what happened. Now, this letter is then published on the CRTC's website. Heavily redacted, though. A lot of places where there's just no text. It's also a Word document, so, jump to your security conclusions as you would like to. It's really telling what's in that letter. And the core of it comes out that, at least from, reading in between the lines, plus some things that are explicitly said, one, they had commingled their entire IP-based network. Cellular traffic, internet traffic, TV, telephones, you name it, whatever it is, all running over the same big internal network. And when you got a big old internal network, what are you going to use, kids? You're going to use BGP or EBGP or IGRP, whatever your routing protocol of choice is.
MPLS circuits as far as the eye can see?
Oh, probably. And, just like DNS, it's not DNS until it is DNS. It was DNS. It's not BGP until it's BGP. Anyways,
it was a firewall.
It was a firewall. Never was a firewall. So really telling what happens there, that this commingled network. And, so Rogers is getting some flack for this, understandably. And, but, somewhere along the line, somebody made a decision to say this was the best thing and chose the economics of this or the manageability or the scalability, some property of a commingled network carrying all their services potentially over the risk of, hey, one thing taking everything down. What's also really interesting in this letter is at least they hint at that their equipment has diverse management mechanisms. And the way you configure it on one doesn't work on the other. And so the things didn't match and stuff breaks. There's this blog from kentic.com. I don't know them, but they did a really good analysis of what's called BGP route withdrawal, where you see the entire autonomous system that belongs to Rogers start retracting routes. So all the Rogers IP addresses start falling off the internet. And they do some interesting analysis, and they conclude that it was actually really the internal network, and these are network experts clearly, but they conclude it was the internal network that experienced a problem. Everything else was still up and working. And that was also kind of evidenced by the fact that cell phones could still see the towers for Rogers, but just couldn't authenticate, which caused a whole bunch of folks not able to reach 911 and things like that too. So really interesting read, but the big takeaway for me here is, hey, Rogers goes, we commingled our network, we recognize we should split that out, and we're going to do that in the future with tens of millions of dollars. So, and my neighbor was really cool to let me sit in their front yard and use Bell Wi-Fi for the day. Bless him.
So
it kind of boggles the mind that they would have it set up like that after so long.
But
go ahead.
Not really, because Rogers is known for being beyond ego, several steps beyond ego. And I may or may not have written findings in a report for that company that, if followed nearly 20 years ago, would have prevented this disaster from occurring. That's how big this problem is. Ben, you and I had not yet met when I wrote those findings.
Carry the one.
Actually, you and I had met at that point.
Oh no, we did. I'd already worked with you, Dave, but Ben hadn't yet joined that particular organization when I wrote
can't
those
imagine.
Findings.
I got to be, when I think about the probably the Rogers network engineers, one hell of a weekend they must have had.
I don't envy them in any way, shape, or form. I mean, look at that. Look at Log4j. All of these things have been dropping over the last little while. I really feel bad for those frontline engineers, because I remember getting those phone calls at 3:00 in the morning to go in, fix, whatever. At a previous job, when my last day, I remember this was one of my favorite ones. I had the help desk call, and they were absolutely in a tizzy, and they had a class 1, and they said, "Look, we need help." And I said, "It's my last day. I'm actually off the clock in 30 minutes. Like, what is it?" "The internet is broken. Please do the needful and revert." After a long moment of silence, I was just like, what? And it turned out that there was one executive that could not surf lolcats of all things.
You blocked
And
lolcats, Dave. How could you?
I know, apparently lolcats, he couldn't get the lolcats, and that triggered a class 1 severity ticket. So I had a great laugh on the way out the door.
So many years ago, I was many years ago, I was administering web filters at a certain global company, and I messed up the implementation of the web filter rule.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been asked by one of the local offices to block a certain set of content, and I applied the block to all of the offices. Now, what did I end up blocking? It was social media. Within minutes, the help desk lights up. The internet is broken. No, it's not. You just can't get to social media. What do you people do with your day? Anyways.
Actually,
Sorry,
on that
David.
very thread, I used to work for a power company that will remain nameless. I've been through a couple of them, so you can figure that one out. I actually almost lost my job for launching a denial of service on our own company. And the root of it was that I left a browser open with Twitter, and it was refreshing every couple seconds to get the latest thing. And apparently that was seen as a denial of service by the, and I quote, security person. And it just, to this day, I still am in awe that escalated as high as it did within the organization.
Wild.
Nope, I think I know which one of the many you're talking about, and this is my not surprised face.
Yes, you do.
Speaking of things that don't work the way people want them to, guess what? Turns out bug bounty
This is something
programs,
bountiful.
yeah, they don't always do what you think they're going to do. And so this is one of the talks that I am distinctly looking forward to in the next, week and a half at Black Hat. Katie's going to tell us why we're screwing up so badly at bug bounties. I am really interested in this because I am one of those CISOs that still goes and looks down in the weeds every now and then. And looking at the quality of bug bounty reports that we're getting, holy crap balls. They could not be more useless if we tried. Our current rate is 1 in 60. For every 59 reports, there's one good report. And it's getting to the point where the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested
in that talk.
Katie, there's no real news there, just Katie.
Well, no, actually, there is news because Katie was the front runner, right? She was the one that led the charge on all of this. So, I mean, she is absolutely the person people should be sitting down to have a chat with. Ben, you got something?
Oh, totally. Yeah, so this is several jobs ago. Let's do a bug bounty. Great. And we go to this particular bug bounty company and pay them the monies. And exactly that experience you described, Jamie, where it's a lot of, look, I ran Nmap on your systems and I saw this thing. And it's, the bug bounty company did their work in terms of like filtering out the chaff because we know where we're going to pay anything for that. But so we start getting into conversations saying, hey, this just isn't producing great outcomes. And what we landed up going with was a contained bug bounty, which is kind of counter to the point of having an open bug bounty, but bear with me. A contained bug bounty that was invite only. And the quality of findings went way up. If you make an open door, of course, there's going to be a lot of noise because people are looking for low-hanging fruit, and especially if you think that some of the folks are coming from parts of the world where a couple $100 absolutely makes a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So they're just spamming every single one they can because a low-level finding, that's a good piece of money for them. And what we're really after, I think, collectively is the juicy stuff that, the bad people might actually find. So narrow your bug bounty invitees is the thing I experienced at a good outcome.
Yes, but did you know that if you copy an active session cookie from one browser to another, it becomes an active session on the second browser?
No.
Mm-hmm.
How much did you have to pay for that?
That was it. And what year is it? And it's really kind of crazy how we see a lot of these quote unquote vulnerabilities that keep popping up that it's like a lather, rinse, repeat of things that we've seen over and over and over again. And CISA came out with a warning about a hard-coded credential bug in, I'm going to say the software company, and I just realized I've actually never said this word out loud before, so I may butcher the name. Atlassian? Is that the right word?
Bingo.
Okay, I got it. Look at that, first shot. But a hard-coded credential bug. The last time I saw one of those was in the power system space with an HMI that had a hard-coded username and password, and the company said, "Oh, we'll fix that for $250,000 US." And it's just that was easily 10 years ago now. Oh
So your
wait,
beard hadn't come in yet fully.
yeah, and it's like here we are again, and we're dealing with this again. And this is not really to actually, yeah, this is a beat up on them a little bit. This is something that shouldn't be happening, and unfortunately, these errors that we see, like for example, if we look back to Heartbleed in what was it, 2014, when that was first introduced, and I think discovered in 2016. That was an issue that was in place for a couple of years. Nobody noticed it, or whether it was by happenstance or by malice, that's entirely up for discussion. But those were problems that were discovered, remedied, and we moved on. We moved away from SSL to TLS. But if you do a quick search on what's it called, Shodan as an example, you'll find all sorts of instances of devices, IoT devices typically, that are deployed that still have Heartbleed in them because they're using deprecated libraries. It's like, why do we keep seeing this lather, rinse, repeat of all this stuff that should have been dealt with years ago? But then again, I look at WannaCry and things like that, and I go, oh, okay, yes. I mean, we knew about that particular problem for over 10 years, and we still did nothing.
But Dave,
how do we get better?
Dave, what you need to do is buy the product that's going to fix it. It's got a red faceplate on it. Looks real snappy in your rack, man.
Blinks.
Snappy. Shiny.
You joke, but as we were talking about before the show, to the audience out there, I actually bought a solution many years ago, and I had already agreed to the solution, all the rest of it. And then the sales guy decided to, put the icing on the cake for the sale to make sure that I was like on the hook. And he said, "Oh, it's going to look amazing in your rack." And I'm like, "Why? It's a rack mounted server. How could I care less?" "Oh, it's got this really nice red faceplate. It'll really pop." If he had said that before I had already agreed to the sale, I probably would have yeeted him out of the building.
No. All right, but hey, here's the thing that kind of boggles my mind. Like, there are a lot of people that are critical of Atlassian as a product, but it works. I mean, and I'm talking about the particular products, Jira, Confluence, and so on. But it's kind of the main.
They do what they do,
right? They do, and they're making decent money and all good. But this was like kind of data center software. You put it inside your network, you let your developers use it. You could be all agile and fun way back. And hey, they've got staying power. They've been around, I think, over a decade, maybe coming on 2 now.
Something like that, yeah.
And people are saying, well, let's plug it directly into the internet. No, you don't. Like, if you've got something that's specifically designed for internal use and that's its roots where it came from, it's probably just one, binary code scan, reverse engineering exercise away from somebody going, "Oh, here's a vulnerability, but you've plugged it into the internet directly." You could not pay me enough money to put Atlassian on the internet, their products. And I'm not to say that, and they're not alone in that, right? It's just, this was designed to run inside a network. No, don't plug it to the internet, ever.
But this is something that we see time and time again, and it's usually not somebody that's technically adroit. Like, I had a rear admiral look me in the eye and said he wanted to attach Lotus Notes directly to the internet. And this was back in 99 for one of them, but like right around that time frame. And it was all of my, like, I couldn't believe the superhuman strength it took for me to maintain my composure. Sorry, Jamie, you were going to say.
It just, if you go, Ben, and look at just the published reports on Atlassian's bug bounty page, so it turns out that software is difficult, genuinely, and also, just so that everybody is aware, there is something worse than Jira out there. You have to have worked at Salesforce to have seen it.
There always is.
But there is something worse. So, could be worse.
Is it Salesforce? Don't answer that.
Yeah,
don't answer
it's
that.
Salesforce.
Well, and that's the thing of it too, is like for every problem that we find, there's always something worse. And we have to figure out how we can change that narrative and how we can improve things longer term, because like I've been at this, like we've all been at this about 30 years, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's mind-boggling to see some of this stuff still over and over again. Is like, are we not properly capturing the lessons we've learned to share with others? Are the lessons not being heard? Do people just not care anymore because they're too busy chasing the new shiny?
I don't think people don't care. I think there's a driver around. Hey, this would be convenient for our developers, our users, our whoever. And then people go off and they go and they do it. And there's just not that time to stop and think. And there could be that time. So it's not hard to get, but to stop and think and go, oh, wait, what are the consequences of putting this directly on the internet if something goes horribly wrong? Sure, it might be fine today. But 6 months from now, have we thought all the way forward to say, if this goes wrong, what are we exposing? And people, I think, generally are inclined to look at what's the immediate value and outcome. I do think that these are very solvable solutions. Like if you're going to put it, Atlassian, Confluence, or pick whatever your favorite thing is out on the internet, there are, not to quote products because I won't, but there are things like VPNs or clientless VPNs or reverse web proxies or a whole bunch of things that can not actually expose it to the internet. Yet here we are, lots of bits.
Ben, I have zero trust in what you're saying.
Well played. Well played.
I feel like I was shanghaied by that comment.
It could always be worse, yes, and you could be totally shanghaied. Yes, go on.
Is this called the segue episode? Is that what we're calling it?
We're trying real hard, Ben, and everybody's just screwing it up. So, hey, what happens when you put a billion records in a place where they shouldn't be, and about 23 terabytes of data gets dumped on the dark web for people to steal? And you're a police force and you let that happen. What were you saying about sometimes the simple things are the most difficult? How do you respond
categorically?
To that? How do you say?
Yes. Here's your free ticket for your rocket to the sun. Please watch your head as you board.
Yeah. What's really interesting, I think, from when you go, sort of way back, we're on episode 0x76 today. So if you go back to like 0x03 when we started talking about breaches, and we'd always have this laundry list, like 4 or 5 of them, and a million records here, and 5 million records there, and 250,000 records here, and a billion records. It doesn't even make the mainstream news. It's just oh yeah, shit.
Not anymore.
Shit gets breached all the time. How many credit card numbers have you had to replace? How many personal information monitoring services do you have? How many of us are deeply, deeply involved in our relationship with Norton LifeLock to make sure that our information is not misused, abused, and stolen? Breaches is the new normal.
Does that help? Does that product help at all?
It's the normal. It's just.
Well, I remember back in 2012, I started tracking data breaches on Liquidmatrix, and I remember the big one at the time was LinkedIn, and like I'll say 5 million records. I'm sure that number's not correct, but it was several million records, and that was headline news everywhere. And you're right, or data breaches with orders of magnitude of billions of records doesn't register anymore. Everyone's become numb to it. If you look at the website informationisbeautiful.net, they do data visualization of all these data breaches. I love that site because, well, I'm a nerd. But it's just like they've had to rejig it at least twice so the data would fit on the screen. That's messed up.
But so think about this,
you need
though.
A bigger monitor, Dave.
13. Yeah, like
dude, I got 49 going here.
That's what she said.
But is it talls too? Anywho. No. HR's calling. HR's calling.
Red flag.
Yeah. But so think about this, though. You go off to do like, hey, oh, look, he's whacking mosquitoes now. Look, he's abusing his employees. So we're going to file a class action lawsuit for a breach. Yeah, good luck with that, because if you're in the 13 million or the 50 million that dumped the week before, the 100 billion or whatever the number is, well, there are not many people on the planet, but whatever. Actually, how do you get 13 billion? I'm reading the wrong line. Doesn't matter. Anyways, whatever the millions of numbers is, whatever it is, if your data is already in there and you're standing in front of a judge going, yeah, I suffered harm because of this breach, really your data was already out there. Like, exposure of data is not making the harm situation worse anymore. It's just more oil on a polluted wasteland. Anyways, I'm going to stop with the metaphors and watch Jamie hit things with a mosquito zapper.
I'm outside in Ontario. Like, this is what Muskoka is like, folks.
Wait, I don't understand that word. Ow. Ow?
It could be so much worse. You could be out in BC where the mosquitoes attack in formation and they have call signs on the side of them.
Mhm.
I went fly fishing out there years ago, and I don't know how I got out alive.
Well, clearly you diluted your blood with alcohol so that they sort of wobbled off after they had a little sip.
That's true, actually. Yes.
Speaking of things that
fun
we've
and games.
escaped, Dave, how about we segue right into the world of SCADAs? Because,
this really is Segway edition.
Yeah. The SCADA market is set to reach $13 billion in 2026. How much of that do you think they're going to spend on security, and how much of it is going to be putting your nuclear plant on the Bluetooths?
6% of 6% of 6% of 6%.
Carry the one. Wait, so 0 times 0.
Yeah.
Rounding up.
Spend more money on coffee. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I think it's interesting.
And
the article goes
it's
into
really hard.
the things that need to be replaced the most, and it's things like RTUs. Like, it's the stuff that's on the edge that needs to be replaced the most. And I guarantee you the same small group of companies with their heads still firmly rammed up their asses are going to sell the same shit they sold last time around. And that utilities renewal cycle that's 20 or 25 years long is going to remain somewhere between 30 and 50 years behind for the foreseeable future.
Oh, yeah. And when you got smart meters that are deployed in the field with JTAGs that are still on board. Oh, yes. And the firmware has default credentials of vendor name. That's messed up. And I really feel for our compatriots that are still doing security in that field. I mean, like, it just absolutely boggles my mind that we've left. God, how many years ago did we leave that space? More than 10. And they're still actually battling the same fights uphill.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so I'm going to ask a naive question, though, because I was never in that space. You've got the ISACs, you've got a whole bunch of working groups to improve security in that space, and many other critical infrastructure spaces. Surely something's progressed.
Yes. And it's more of a tangential thing, but like CISA has been doing amazing work. Jen Easterly has been leading the charge there, and it's been wonderful to see that. Obviously, it's not directly, but it does have impact as well. But I've seen a lot of good things with a lot of, folks that we came up from the trenches with that are doing a lot of good work in the field. But then there definitely needs to be more. I mean, when I look at everything that happened in Texas over the last year, that's the kind of stuff that was avoidable.
We should maybe do a special episode where we get my son-in-law to come in and talk about this stuff, because he actually knows, because he still up his ass in this industry, and that might be a good thing. And that way we can get
fun.
Answers from somebody who knows.
Exactly.
We could have the whole Arlen clan do a special thing.
We bring him in and bring in Patrick Miller. We do a big round table.
That would almost be a talk.
I think that would actually be fun. That would be really fun.
Yeah.
I'm all over that. That would be cool.
All right. Next item on the list, no segue required, because segue was the form of transportation that was going to make the world a better place.
Wait, hold on.
Back it up.
We're doing segues. We've been doing segues.
I was
You
doing
got to figure out how you get from point A to point
starting out
B. You got
by
to jump
saying
into
that
it.
I wasn't doing a segue because segways are the form of transportation that nobody uses except for Paul Blart the Mall Cop. Everybody uses the form of transportation where you get a friend who hasn't never been your friend before until today to give you a ride. Because, bumming a lift is a thing that you did when you were 17. You might as well do it for the rest of your damn life with an app. Oh, yeah, and by the way,
An app, you say, like,
lied. They lied. I mean,
that was a pretty good
no
segue.
more
I
or
mean, a
less
little
simple
convoluted.
than that. I was trying, and the two of you stomped all over it like a bunch of amateur monkeys.
We're sorry, Jamie. We're sorry.
It's all
Are
right.
we though?
No, Uber lied. No. Uber lied. They lied, and there will be no consequences for the lying. What do we do, folks?
Well, there will be consequences. They'll be under 20 years of supervision, but they won't get prosecuted, but they'll pay fines, etc. Here's the thing that kind of bothers me, though. They're not getting prosecuted, but they're gonna help with the prosecution against their former CISO. That's Joe Sullivan, and I don't know Joe personally, but certainly know of his reputation. And I don't understand the entire story about what he got mixed up in, but at least one of the side of the story says, he paid, he worked with his lawyers, he had the approval of his CEO at the time, and money was sent to a bunch of hackers to make a thing go away. And there wasn't, at least as a layperson, it doesn't seem overtly criminal. I can understand why the government might have some concerns, but so many companies have paid ransom over the years, and I know this because ransomware still keeps happening, so by deduction, people do pay.
I was going to say, I don't remember the particulars at the time, but wasn't it the problem was it was not disclosed?
Yeah, so they had so having read a bunch of the articles around it at the time and now, and in between, of course, at the time that there was the feds were in doing an investigation on Uber on an unrelated matter, but also around data privacy and data protection. And while they were in, this other event occurs and it's not disclosed to them. And I can understand why the feds would get grumpy about that, because you really should be as transparent as you can in those cases. However, it's not like he acted alone, at least on the telling from what I've read. Spoke with the lawyers. They had an obligation to communicate. He was just sort of the front guy talking when being interviewed, but he'd run everything through legal. And this wasn't like he went off and, to my understanding, went rogue. All blessed, right? By people who ought to know better and have that authority. And now his former employer is helping. Now, I get that if, the regulator says you're going to help, you're going to say yes because you're going to say yes. This isn't like, your buddy got arrested and you got arrested, and if you both keep quiet, you both walk free sort of thing, or you get a lower sentence. This company is being compelled, so they're cooperating with the with the investigation. But it leaves a bad taste in the mouth, and it also, I think, would make a lot of CISOs think, if they were ever in a situation of having to pay ransom or having to deal with something, does my company have my back, and will my company have my back in the future? And that's worrying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you guys think about that story? You got perspectives?
I don't know enough about the particulars of the case to comment, because that's one of the problems that we see on social media a lot. It's like somebody sees raw meat and they go, oh, it must be this. And we want to make sure that we actually watch the whole case unfold before, jumping in. And this is one of those cases where, I'll be honest, I don't know enough. I mean, yes, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think something is hanky, but I will happily sit on my hands and wait till I read more.
Oh, my dad says, there's 3 sides to every story. Once your side, their side, and the truth. And you're right. Fair enough. Truth will come out. Yeah. But even just on the surface value, or just on the face of it, the CISO's former employer is helping with an investigation against them. That regardless of what actually happened, I think would give a lot of CISOs pause to say, am I exposed in future situations like that should they arise?
Yeah, but it also speaks to that the volume of data against him may be such that it is that bad. Obviously, that is to be proven in a court of law, but it's that's pretty heavy. So
yeah,
definitely be watching that one unfold for sure.
It's the kind of thing that you consider.
There was a,
when you're a CISO, the kind of thing that you consider is, my team's not going to get stapled to the wall for this. I'm going to get stapled to the wall for it. And so I need to know. It's the constant refrain is, I need to know what's going on, even if you don't think it's important, because there's 11 things going on that you don't know about. And I'm sorry to be the asshole who doesn't always tell you everything, junior member of my staff, but I need you to keep me apprised of what's going on, because I'm the one who's wearing the pants that will be on fire when this all goes sideways. You'll be fine. I'll be screwed.
And it's always those little gotchas that are going to get you. It's like, where your yacht is somewhere in the world, if you're a Russian oligarch, or where your plane happens to be. These are the kind of things that we got to worry about as in security. I'm being facetious, of course, but it's a really ham-fisted way of getting into talking about planes and tracking.
We're really trying, aren't we, this
Elon
time?
is pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's a security issue that people know where his plane is. Yeah. People know where his plane is because it's got a radio transponder on it that's saying, look at me, here I am. This is a security risk for him. But I don't know that his reputation can really take much of a hit because it's kind of already in the dumpster. Compare that to Canadian music legend Drake and how he's getting absolutely raked for his private plane usage. Now, here's the thing that's the killer, right? He's getting raked because of a very short flight between the city of Hamilton, Ontario, and the city of Toronto, Ontario, which are 75 kilometers apart. And the reason why this flight occurs is because it's cheaper to park your airplane in Hamilton than it is to park it in Toronto. Also in Toronto, they'll probably lose it because, well, that's what Pearson is known for. Here's the thing. Short flight, only a few minutes, uses about, the amount of fuel depends on your plane, doesn't it? And Drake's is a 767.
Yes, he's got an Airbus.
No, it's a Boeing.
Oh, it's a 760. I thought he had an Airbus.
Wild.
No, 767. It's like, dude, you're getting like, I don't know, 0.2 miles to the gallon on that thing. And his response was, much like Elon saying, hey, don't look at me because I'm supposed to be hidden while I'm moving. Drake comes out and says, well, it's not a big deal because the plane's empty. Nobody's really on those flights. And it's like, I'm going to introduce y'all to Barbara Streisand and the Streisand effect. You've made it worse by pointing that out. What the hell?
Well, he's got to figure out ways to save money because it did cost him $185 million for that bird. So, a Gulfstream, was it a G800 or G, whatever it is? Anyway, their top end Gulfstream that comes in at about 75 million. But no, he had to go for the 767.
What does one do with a 767?
I have no idea. That's the part that boggles my mind.
It has bedrooms and a kitchen, and I think that he's also a DoorDasher for like Amazon Prime shipments or something. Like, it makes no sense. The only thing you can say is that it's one better than Trump Force One, which is only a 757. So
and isn't it grounded right now?
Yeah,
one of them is grounded because it actually was on the ground so long that it is not actually airworthy at this point because it has not been flown in so many years.
That is wild. Oh, man,
it really is.
So let's just wrap this one up though. So we've got people. I think at least Drake answered the question better than Elon did, but or if as a South African Ellen. He didn't really so much make it better. Like I wasn't on the plane, versus I think the person that originally got slammed for all of this was one of the who was that
Kardashians.
reality TV session? The Kardashians, or one of the Kardashian
Yeah.
demon spawn was slagged. Was slagged for getting on a plane for like a 45-minute or hour-long. It was an hour-long drive, and they did a plane instead.
17-minute plane flight.
Yeah. Wow, even worse. And so at least Drake comes out and goes, well, yeah, the jet was being repositioned, which is genuinely a thing. Nobody was on it except the pilot, so okay, fine. But bringing it back to the cyber thing. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I was going to say, but the 5 tons of carbon emission.
Right. But given that this is not an ESG podcast, we'll sort of skirt on that one. Coming back to the security aspects of it, it's this information flows. And to your point at the beginning, Jamie, giant freaking transponders shouting everything out. And then people are getting upset about, well, there's this kid tweeting or whatever. I think that, if you're an executive and you're or somebody big and famous and trying to keep a low key, OPSEC would suggest you not use a plane that only you could use with your name on the side.
Ding, ding, ding.
So, go figure.
Fly commercial, be obscure.
Or buy out all the seats on a commercial flight. Still be cheaper than owning a 767, right?
Or rent like a NetJet or something like that, where nobody knows who's actually on the plane.
There you go. Oh, well, since we don't own planes, we have to get our mail the normal old-fashioned way, and we have to go to the mailbag. What's in the mailbag, Jamie?
I don't know. Too late for this shit. You guys are not good at segues or segues. It's amazing how fast this letter got in. I mean, like literally within the last 41 minutes. Damn, that's fast.
I'm lucky I can stand up on a flat surface, let alone a Segway.
Yeah, well, that's you on a Tuesday, Dave. Come on.
Well, yeah,
but it's only Saturday.
Yeah, I think the real.
Oh, but there are some awesome things.
Oh God, we're doing this again, are we? And yeah, I think we might be. So stay tuned. There'll be more.
We'll try.
It's going to be weird for people.
Yeah. Kids and grandkids and jobs and
travel. Much travel.
Some of the tweets I got after the last episode popped up were pretty amazing. It was like, ooh, zombie podcast alert on my phone. But wait, it's real. It's like,
I got that. I got a couple of DMs. It was like, hey, you guys aren't dead?
Well, we tried.
Phoning it in.
It is pretty awesome to get feedback that people are like happy to see us back again.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody asked me, what are you doing this weekend, Ben? And I said, this and that. Oh, yeah, I'm getting together with some buddies of mine, and we're doing a podcast recording. Like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, no, we're just doing yet another anniversary recording of something we started 10 years ago. Don't get too excited. So, but maybe we'll do this often. I hope so. Be fun.
It was pretty cool. At our zenith, we had, it was about 250,000 listeners. So, I mean, there was a time.
And we never sold out by monetizing it. Just all you remember that. Let's do that.
Oh, yeah. Consistency is key.
That is true. All right, but we should wrap this up soon and briefly.
Yeah, we have the good tools.
Who's wearing briefs?
That's you, Jamie. Go.
There's a collection of awesome Dash things on GitHub, and one of them that I think deserves another looky-loo for a bunch of people is awesome Dash security. It's just a collection of links. It's almost like Yahoo in 1995, maybe even Alta Vista in 1995. It's just a list of links, but hey, there's some real value in there for some people who just don't know where to start looking, or frankly, if you can't keep up, which let's face it, all of us are too old to keep up. It's a way to stay on top of what's interesting in the various fields there are. That's it.
This article popped up in my feed, and at first it sounded horrible because Samsung has apparently this repair mode that they can poke around your phone if you mail your phone in for repairs. Now, I don't understand what that is because I do the iPhone thing and I go to the Apple store and they fix it when I break it. But at first it sounded like, wow, Samsung has a secret back door. But actually, no, as the user of the phone, you have to put your Android Samsung phone thing into repair mode. You then ship it off. They can't see the data. It's all encrypted and locked up in goodness. And like this, actually, if it is what it is, it sounds like Samsung actually did this right in a way to create serviceability for the device without asking users, hey, put a sticky note on the front of the phone with your password on it so we can fix it, please. So good on you, Samsung.
And we're happy to see that Microsoft's on-again, off-again romance with macros is now off again, as hackers have found new and exciting ways to cause trouble with that. Why they brought that back again, I'll never know. I'm glad to see the backside of it. This is why you have to look at ways to better secure and reduce the risk in your organization. Zero trust. And, just don't add in things that are just going to complicate matters, because we have enough to deal with as it is.
Did you flip him off for doing a product placement during our unsponsored podcast?
That wasn't a product.
It was a concept. That was a concept.
And
all
yet,
right.
It's about 1/4 of the spam email I get into my damn inbox because I'm a CISO. So take your trust and zero it out, buddy. Right there. You were that.
I enjoy raising your blood pressure.
Oh well.
Yeah.
All right. So we did actually get a secret says from Matt. He did message it to us, so that's good. Who does Seacrest in Matt's absence? I'm not sure.
Do
we go by age, beard length?
Well, I've got the age and the beard length, so I'm kind of boned at this point.
All right, so
Seacrest says, "I'll see you at Bandcamp."
Wait, but I thought it was canceled. Isn't it canceled again?
It's canceled every year.
I'm going. I'm not. I don't get to go to cool band camps anymore.
I've been a DEF CON goon now for 12 years.
They haven't fired you yet?
Pretty wild, actually. No, strangely enough, I have not been thrown out the window. Maybe one day.
One day HR will call you and explain that you're volunteering. You're teaching with Rich? Ooh.
Yeah.
Are you going, Ben?
Literally the highlight.
I am not going.
Summers.
Nope.
We'll miss you.
What are you teaching with Rich Mogul, Jamie?
Advanced cloud security.
Ooh.
I mean, between us, we wrote
this
most
cloud
of the
thing
book.
will take off. Very nice.
I'll wait for it to show up on YouTube and watch it with great enjoyment.
It's a day-long class.
Boys, we're getting old and it's our bedtime.
It's not going to be on YouTube. Ben,
everything's
you expect
on YouTube.
to get stuff for free.
You have to look hard.
You socialist bastard, you.
I'm Canadian. What do you want?
Yes. It's bedtime.
All right, lads. This has been grand.
All right.
Jamie, have fun up in the trees. Ben, have a good time on your vacation. And
thank you.
I'm going to go find a sofa to lie on and work on my groove. Take her slow, let her go.
Nope. Bye.
Nope. Let it go. We'll catch you all soon. Cheers.
Cheers.